And the state's application for a postponement in the Estina Dairy Farm case has been granted by the magistrate Colin Nenkosi in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court. They allegedly siphoned off some 200 million rand intended for farmers there. The case was postponed on Friday because prosecutors said they hadn't wrapped up their investigations. Well, Erin Bates is here and she is following that story. So, Erin, in essence, the court has refused to strike this case from the roll, apart from the fact that the state has been given leave to essentially appeal, to keep working, to keep investigating.
Yes.
That's important. So the Estina Dairy case is still very much alive.
It's alive. It's alive. It's kicking. How strongly it's kicking, we don't know yet. And the key thing now is these MLAs, Memoranda of Legal Agreement, which was one of the grounds in which the state's advocate Bakamela argued for the postponement. He said, we've gone to the United Arab Emirates, we've gone to India, we want to get these postponements so that we can get this information from these departments of justice overseas. Can we have more time? The court has said, yes, you can. Now get to work. And so from what I understand, it's not only those two countries, but other countries as well. And it's been a matter of these dominoes falling. You know, how many dominoes are falling? You do one bit of investigation as the NPA, another Pandora's box opens up, you need to follow that and do investigations. Then you find you need to go to another country to get information.
And so what's important also here to emphasize, Erin, is that this is the NPA's first criminal prosecution in as far as state capture is concerned. That surely has got to be amplified.
It must be amplified, and the thing here is that so far through judgments from Bloemfontein, the regional court and the High Court, we've had a number of indications that there have been red flags in terms of the NPA's work to date. Questions around the forensic accounting, for example, around confusing the chairmanship of Varun Gupta as CEO of Oak Bay Investments Oak Bay Resources, I beg your pardon, with the chairmanship of Oak Bay Investments. So certainly his counsel have been going into the finer details, the nitty-gritty, to try and discredit the NPA's work to date. This judgment now is a win, arguably, for the NPA. It's also a lifeline for the NPA's case and its investigation into Estina. And interesting that this happens in the context of what we've just seen this morning with the beginnings of the first public testimony in the state capture inquiry. Of course, we heard yesterday from Advocate Thandi Norman, that Estina is very much a part of the reports and evidence before the inquiry and will be on the table at some point during their hearings.
So this gives the NPA a chance to go and do further investigations in as far as procurement processes are concerned. And I like that you're linking it to the state capture, because we have an official there who's been at National Treasury for some 17 years, basically detailing the procurement processes that have got to unfold. So the NPA presumably is going to go now and look for detail as to where did monies flow to.
Yes, and what's important here is to also consider the forensic accounting aspect of things, really kind of joining the dots of how many millions of rand, hundreds of millions of rand meant to go to black farmers in the Free State was siphoned off, and where did it go? Where did it go in South Africa, in bank accounts here? Where did it go in bank accounts across the world? And that's why you need those MLAs, those Memoranda of Legal Agreement, so that you can start gleaning that information from other jurisdictions. But what's important here, Koli, I think, is to remember that the state's capacity to undergo or to sort of execute forensic accounting is relatively weakened. We heard that from General Lebeya, who's before
in Parliament on Wednesday.
Exactly. And we've also heard that from the NPA through some of its sort of documents it's tabled in these various cases in Bloemfontein. So what happens time and again is that the state has to go to other firms, to private firms, the likes of ENS, the likes of Werksmans we heard about yesterday in the state of capture inquiry, in order to plug the holes in the state's own capacity to interrogate allegations of fraud, allegations of corruption, allegations of money laundering. And so in this case, this Estina case, which only has one Gupta accused, 3 members of the Free State Department of Agriculture and other people associated with Gupta businesses, they now need to go and get the details of banking and financial sort of matters, not only in South Africa, India and the UAE and other countries as well.
It's interesting, Erin, just as a final question to you, that the state officials are not part of the 8 that have appeared in court. Instead, I think it's the bottom line officials, if you like. It's the low-ranking members of the state. Mosebenzi Zwane was MEC of Agriculture in Free State when this deal was closed, and Ace Magashule, the Secretary General of the ANC now, was Premier at the time. Any indications on when things may start to likely move towards them?
Not in terms of this case, and it's a very pertinent question because there really seems to be a cap on how far up the ranks these allegations go. And the accused, the charged in this matter, very serious charges against them: fraud, theft, corruption, breaching the Prevention of Organised Crime Act and the like, only go as far as the HOD of the Department of Agriculture in the Free State. You spoke about Mosebenzi Zwane. Sylvia Lucas, who was the CFO, Chief Financial Officer for the Department of Agriculture, interestingly moved to the Department of Mineral Resources after she was in agriculture. No coincidence, I would argue, and yet this case only charges as far as the level of provincial agriculture. It doesn't go further than that, and maybe those names you dropped there, those significant, hefty political names you mentioned, may well come before the Commission of Inquiry into state capture.
Erin Bates, thank you very much. Doing some digging there. Thank you very much for that update.